Alrighty guys, welcome to my free college basketball pick show video here today for Tuesday, February 21st, 2023. Happy Tuesday to you. Hopefully you got your week off to a really good start. My name is Brock Page. I've been doing sports picks for free on YouTube since 2016. If you want to see which one of these free plays on my videos that I'm actually betting on personally, you may want to think about becoming a board member on my website. Board members get access to every single one of my personal sports bets, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus, guys, you're also going to get access to my board member podcast as well. The math works out to be just $1.66 a day if you sign up for that membership here today. Once again, it's a full access, all-inclusive membership. I currently have over 540 members who are signed up and active on my website right now. And you may be wondering what the difference is between what I do here on YouTube and what I do on my website. Well, what I do here on YouTube is I'll handicap the entire slate of games in any given sport, side and total. And what I do on my website is I actually share with you which one of these free plays on these videos that I'm actually betting on personally. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and dive into some free content. We're going to take a look at Villanova at Xavier, 6:30 p.m. East. Xavier's minus 4.5, totals 148. Now, the Musketeers have been nearly impossible to beat at home. They're 14-1 in the Cintas Center, and they're undefeated in conference home games. When it comes to shooting the basketball, this is arguably the best shooting team in the country. They're in the top 3 in the nation in offensive field goal percentage. And no real surprise here, guys. They're drilling 40% of their three-pointers as a team. Sully Boom, he's drilling 40% of his three-pointers. He's also leading the team in scoring. Meanwhile, Colby Jones and Jack Nunge, they're both drilling over 41% of their long balls. They're facing a Villanova team who's gotten the W in just 3 out of 11 road games. When it comes to offensive production, the Wildcats averaged only 66 points a game in those road contests. Now, when it comes to rebounding the basketball, Villanova's arguably the worst offensive rebounding team in the Big East. When it comes to the injury report, Njoku's still out for Nova. Tandy is questionable for Xavier. Now, total-wise, Xavier's 11-4 to the over in their own arena. Meanwhile, Villanova saw overs against the likes of Providence, DePaul, and Georgetown. Give me Xavier minus 4.5 over 148. Next game, little ACC action. I'm talking about Georgia Tech squaring off against Pitt. That'll be a 7 o'clock Eastern start time. The Pitt Panthers are minus 11, totals 137. Now, Pitt got the W in 8 out of their last 10, and they covered in 70% of those contests. Now, Pitt's also been really good in conference play. They're 12-4 straight up against ACC opponents. Greg Elliott's drilling over 42% of his three-pointers. He's also averaging double-digit points a game. Meanwhile, Jamarius Burton, he's scoring over 15.5 points a game himself. They're facing a Georgia Tech team who's certainly had their hands full with the conference. They're 0-7 in conference road games this year, 3-13 against the ACC at any location. And speaking of road trips, the Yellow Jackets have made just 37% of their field goals away from home. Now, injury-wise, Davion Smith, he's questionable for Georgia Tech. Meanwhile, for Pitt, KJ Marshall's questionable for them. When it comes to the total, Pitt went 60% to the under in their last 10. Meanwhile, Georgia Tech's 8-1 to the under as the official road team. I'm leaning toward Pitt minus 11, under 137. Next matchup, it is going to be Baylor, Kansas State, 7 o'clock East. Baylor's the 1-point favorite on the road, totals 146. Now, Baylor's playing just 500 basketball on the road. They're coming fresh off a 16-point loss to Kansas. The Bears allowed 87 points to the Jayhawks in that loss. And no real shock here, guys. Baylor has one of the higher defensive field goal percentages on the road in the Big 12. They're letting their opponents make just about 50% of their field goals against them when they travel. They're facing a Kansas State squad who's scoring 76 points a game themselves, and they've been real tough to beat at home. Wildcats are 13-1 in the Bramlage Coliseum. Keontae Johnson, he averages a team-high 17 points a game. He's also drilling 40% of his three-pointers. Meanwhile, Marquise Noel, he scores over 16.5 points per contest himself. When it comes to the total, K-State saw 7 out of their last 10 meetings with Baylor get over the number. So if you're into historical trends, plenty of overs to go around. Meanwhile, Baylor saw 5 out of their last 8 on the road get over the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward Kansas State +1 over 146. Next contest, it is going to be Miami taking on Virginia Tech, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Virginia Tech's -2 at home, totals 153. I'm not sure if Virginia Tech's playing good enough basketball in conference to get the job done here. Out of 16 games against the ACC, the Hokies got the W only 6 times. Vatek's also had their issues grabbing rebounds on the offensive end of the court this year. They're facing a Miami squad who's one of the better defensive rebounding teams in the ACC. They also limit their competition to just 29% shooting from three land in their travels. Nigel Pack has a couple of blocks on defense along with 25 steals. Now Pack's also scoring 13.5 points a game, and he's drilling 41% of his three-pointers. Meanwhile, Isaiah Wong, he's leading the charge with nearly 17 points a night himself. When it comes to offensive production, the Canes are a top 25 shooting team from the field. That's top 25 in the country. Now, injury-wise, Rodney Rice is still out for Vatek. Darius Maddox is questionable. When it comes to the total, Vatek's gone a staggering 13-3 to the over in their conference showdowns. Meanwhile, Miami went 60% to the over in their last 10. Give me the Hurricanes. Miami +2 over 153. Next matchup, it is going to be Mississippi State taking on Missouri, 7 o'clock East. The Missouri Tigers are -3.5, totals 138 and a hook. Now, the Missouri Tigers are one of the more exciting teams to watch in the SEC. They're a top 20 scoring team in the country, and they're averaging over 86 points a game in the MIZZOU arena. Kobe Brown, he's scoring nearly 17 points per contest, and he drills 47% of his three-pointers. Meanwhile, Demoy Hodge, he's making just about 40% of his three-pointers himself. He's also scoring 13 points a game. Now, they're facing a Mississippi State team who has a losing conference record in the SEC. They're also one of the worst offensive teams in the country. The Bulldogs are scoring only 61 points a game in their travels. Comes to the number, Mississippi State's gone 4-3 to the over in their last 7 conference road games. Meanwhile, Mizzou saw 5 out of their last 7 against the SEC at home get over the total. I'm going to lean toward Missouri, -3.5, over 138 and a hook. Next game, it is going to be Tennessee taking on Texas A&M, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Texas A&M's -1, totals 129. And even though the Aggies are favored here, they've certainly had their hands full with Tennessee in recent meetings. They lost 6 out of their last 10 contests against the Vols. They've also been held to just 67 points a game in those meetings. As far as this year's concerned, the Aggies really haven't been much of a deep ball threat. They're making only 32% of their shots from three-land. Now they're taking on a Tennessee squad who's arguably the toughest defensive team in college basketball. The Vols allow just 58 points per contest, and they have the lowest defensive field goal percentage in the nation. They're actually limiting their competition to just 35% shooting from the field. And no real surprise here, guys. The Vols lead the country in defensive three-point percentage as well. They hold their opponents to just 24% shooting from beyond the arc. Zakai Ziegler, he has nearly 55 steals on the season, along with a handful of blocks. Now, Ziegler's also the team's second leading scorer. Meanwhile, Santiago Vescovi scores 12.5 points a game himself, along with 4 rebounds. When it comes to the scoring, Tennessee saw 6 out of their last 8 on the road stay under the total. Meanwhile, Texas A&M's 10-4 to the under in their own arena. Give me Tennessee +1, under 129. Next contest, a little Big East action. I'm talking about Marquette at Creighton, 8 o'clock East. Creighton's -6, totals 148. And even though they are favored by a couple of buckets, Creighton's had a tough time covering the number recently. They failed to cover in 4 out of their last 6, and they have a losing record against the point spread at home. They're facing a Marquette team who's been explosive on offense. The Golden Eagles are a top 10 shooting team from the field. They're also in the top 5 in the nation in road scoring. They average over 81 points a game in their travels. Tyler Kolek, he scores nearly a dozen points a game. He also does a nice job shooting from three-land. Meanwhile, Cam Jones, he's leading Marquette in points per game. Now, total-wise, Marquette saw 5 out of their last 8 conference road games get over the number. Meanwhile, Creighton saw overs against the likes of Providence and Seton Hall. I'm going to lean toward Marquette plus 6 over 148. Next game, it is going to be Iowa State taking on Texas, 9 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Texas is minus 7.5, totals 136. Now, the Longhorns have been nearly impossible to beat in their own arena. They're 15-1 in the Moody Center, and they're a top 25 scoring team in the country. Marcus Carr is scoring over 17 points a game, and he also drills nearly 40% of his three-pointers. Meanwhile, Jabari Rice, he averages a dozen points a game himself. They're facing an Iowa State team who's had all kinds of problems on the road this year. The Cyclones are just 1-7 straight up in their travels. And in addition to that, they shot only 29% from three-land in those ball games. And no real surprise here, folks. ISU averages just 65 points a game away from home. Now, injury-wise, Caleb Grill is questionable for Iowa State. When it comes to the total, 5 out of Iowa State's last 7 fell under the total. They're also 64% to the under for the entire season. I'm going to lean toward Texas minus 7.5, under 136. Next matchup, it is going to be Texas Tech taking on Oklahoma, 9 o'clock Eastern start time. Oklahoma's minus 3, totals 137.5. I'm not sure the Sooners are playing good enough to cover here. They lost 8 out of their last 10, and they've certainly been terrible against Big 12 opponents here. Out of 13 conference ball games, the Sooners got the W just 3 times. When it comes to offensive production, the Sooners are scoring just 69 points a game in the Gaylord, and they're arguably the worst offensive rebounding team at home in the conference. Now, they're facing a Texas Tech team who covered in 6 out of their last 7 themselves, and they do have a winning record against the point spread in their travels. Kevin Obanor, sorry about that. Kevin Obanor, he averages just about 15 points a game. He also leads the team in points. Meanwhile, Jalen Tyson, he's drilling just about 40% of his three-pointers. We got a stray. It's just sticking straight out there. Weird. Can't help it. Just going to have to leave it there. That is annoying. Anyway, beard problems. There's a stray hair just sticking out. That's gross. Anyway, Jalen Tyson, I just mentioned him. 40% of his three-pointers. When it comes to defensive play, the Red Raiders are allowing only 68 points a game. Now, injury-wise, Daniel Bacho is a little banged up for Texas Tech. Keep an eye on him. When it comes to the total, Texas Tech saw unders recently against the likes of Texas and Kansas State. They also held Oklahoma to just 59 points a game in their last 10 head-to-head meetings. Matter of fact, all 10 of those contests stayed under the total. So once again, if you're into historical trends, definitely want to think about that one there. Give me Texas Tech plus 3, under 137.5. Next game, Indiana, Michigan State, 9 o'clock East. Sparty's minus 3, totals 135. The Spartans are playing some really tough defense in the Breslin Center. They allow just 63 points a game in East Lansing, and they're in the top 3 in the entire country in guarding the three-pointer at home. Sparty's limiting their competition to just 24% shooting from beyond the arc in their own building. Tyson Walker has over 30 steals on the season, along with 7 blocks. He's also averaging over 13.5 points a game offensively. Now, Joey Hauser, he's leading the team in scoring, and he's also drilling 43% of his three-pointers. Now, they're facing an Indy squad who's got just a .400 win percentage while traveling, and equally as bad, the Hoosiers are scoring just 66 points a game away from Bloomington. Now, total-wise, Indiana's 60% to the under in their travels this year. Meanwhile, Michigan State saw 9 out of their last dozen home games stay under the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward Michigan State -3, under 135. Next matchup, it is going to be Georgia, Arkansas, 9 o'clock Eastern tip-off. The Arkansas Razorbacks are -13.5, totals 142 and a hook. Now, the Razorbacks have made it very difficult to score in the Bud Walton Arena. Arkansas allows only 61 points a game at home, and they limit their opponents to just 39% shooting from the field there. Anthony Black has 15 blocks on the season and over 50 steals. He's also second on the team in scoring. Meanwhile, Ricky Council, he averages nearly 17 points a game himself. That's a team high. Now, they're facing a Georgia team who allows 76 points a game themselves in their travels. They're having a tough time grabbing defensive boards this year. And out of their 9 contests away from Athens, the Bulldogs got the W only one time. Now, total-wise, Georgia saw unders against the likes of LSU, Texas A&M, and Tennessee recently. Meanwhile, Arkansas saw 10 out of their last 14 at home stay under the total themselves. Give me Arkansas -13.5, under 142 and a hook. Next game, it is going to be San Jose State taking on Nevada, 10 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Nevada's -9, totals 136. Now, the Wolfpack's been perfect in the Lawler Event Center. They're 13-0 straight up in Reno this year, and they covered in over 83% of those home victories. And oddly enough, this is actually one of the best free throw shooting teams in the country. I know we don't really talk a whole lot about shooting from the stripe, but it's definitely something to note because Nevada's drilling 80% of their shots from the foul line. It actually puts them in the top 5 in the nation in that category. Now, Jared Lucas, he's the best free throw shooter on the team. And, of course, he's averaging a team-best 17 points a game. Now, Will Baker, he knocks down just about 40% of his three-pointers. They're facing a San Jose State team who lost 7 of 11 on the road this year. And in their last 10 head-to-head meetings with Nevada, San Jose State took the loss 9 times. Now, total-wise, the Spartans saw 7 out of their last 11 road games get over the number. Meanwhile, Nevada's 75% to the over in the Lawler Center. I'm going to lean toward Nevada -9, over 136. With that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for the video, next and final breakdown for the video. It is going to be Colorado State at San Diego State, and that'll be an 11 o'clock Eastern tip-off. The San Diego State Aztecs are -10, totals 135. Now, San Diego State got the W in 8 out of their last 9 ball games. They covered in 78% of those contests. Now, the Aztecs have also been very tough to beat at home. They're 13-1 in the Aztec Bowl, and they limit their opponents to just 27% shooting from three-land there. Matt Bradley has 20 steals on the year, along with a handful of blocks. Bradley's also the team leader in points. Meanwhile, Darian Trammell, he averages just about double-digit points a game. They're facing a Colorado State team who lost 7 out of their last 10. They have a real tough time with Mountain West opponents. Out of 14 conference ball games this year, the Rams got the W only 4 times. When it comes to the total, the Rams are 11-3 to the over in their conference matchups. They also allowed 74 points a game in their last 10 meetings with San Diego State. Now, the Aztecs saw overs against the likes of UNLV, Nevada, and this very Colorado State team. Give you San Diego State -10, over 135. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap. Xavier -4.5, over 148. Miami Hurricanes +2, over 153. Pitt Panthers -11, under 137. And if you want to see which one of these free plays on this video that I'm actually betting on personally, the best way to do that is to sign up for my all-inclusive board member package on my website. Give me K-State +1, over 146. Murray State +6, under 134. Virginia Commonwealth -4, under 138. St. Louis -1, over 142. Tennessee +1, under 129. Missouri -3.5, over 138 and a hook. Central Michigan +12, over 146. Ball State +4 over 140.5. Northern Illinois +12 over 150. Bowling Green +2 under 154. Youngstown State -5 over 143. Eastern Michigan -4 under 153.5. Toledo -3 over 148. East Carolina -1 under 145. Marquette +6 over 148. Texas Longhorns -7.5 under 136. Texas Tech +3 under 137.5. Michigan State -3 under 135. Arkansas -13.5 under 142 and a hook. Air Force -2 under 125. Utah State -4.5 under 146. Nevada -9 over 136. With my next and final free pick, give me San Diego State -10 over 135. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on my website. Now, if you guys do end up getting a membership here today on patreon.com/BrockPage, you're going to get access to that membership for the next 30 days. Of course, as an added bonus, you're also going to get access to all of my cheaper memberships absolutely free. They're going to be included with your purchase. That's why I always tell folks the board member package, it's an all-inclusive full access package. It gives you access to every single personal bet, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. Of course, you're also going to get access to the board member podcast as well. The math works out to be just $1.66 a day over the course of the next 30 days if you sign up here today. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube or TikTok. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. With that said, guys, happy Tuesday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.